The Third Geneva Convention protects prisoners of war and was adopted in 1929 in Geneva, Switzerland. The debate surrounding the convention is the rights of prisoners of war and what they deserve. This debate shouldn't be a debate, as POWs are humans and deserve all human rights. The Geneva Conventions are categorized as international humanitarian law. Prisoners of war are people who have been captured by the enemy in a war. These are people whose allies will not be able to keep track of them or know what is happening to them. Due to that fact, POWs are now subject to the enemy's will. The only thing stopping the enemies from injuring POWs anymore is the Third Geneva Convention. The Third Geneva Convention states that prisoners of war are not allowed to be prosecuted or taken part in the war. They must be treated humanely at all times and are protected against any acts of violence, intimidation, insults, and public curiosity. POWs were first discussed in the convention after World War I. POWs were given the right to be treated with compassion. It also made rules about the daily life of POWs. The convention also established the Red Cross as a main neutral organization for collecting and transmitting data about prisoners of war. In 1949, an update was made for all conventions after the conflict of World War II. These updates were that they must not be tortured or mistreated. POWs were only required to give their name, rank, date of birth, and serial number when captured. Suitable housing and enough food must be provided for the prisoners of war as well. POWs must not be discriminated against for any reason, and they have the right to communicate with family. Lastly, the Red Cross has a right to examine their living conditions. One failure of the convention, especially post-Cold War, is that most armed conflicts are categorized as non-international conflicts, which means that the convention does not apply. This means POWs may be treated as inhumanely as possible. Another failure of the convention is the usage of discriminatory language of gender roles. The commentary of 1960 describes women as less likely to be in the front lines, therefore less likely to be captured. It also describes women as a weaker sex, as well as referring to women as weak and modest. This failure has been rectified in the commentary of 2020 and has explained the article as not to be understood as women being weaker. Another failure of the Geneva Convention is that it does not really prevent harm to POWs. This is shown in World War II with how Japan treated its POWs, with prisons being more like work camps and death camps. Nazi Germany also deliberately starved and worked Soviet POWs to their deaths. The Third Geneva Convention also did nothing to stop Germany, even though Germany itself had signed the Third Geneva Convention. The Third Geneva Convention is nothing more than a guideline that can be easily broken. Atrocities may be let go because the countries just won't admit to it. The country itself has to admit they have broken the convention if there is no evidence submitted. The Third Geneva Convention overall is meant to positively change wars for the better and make it more humane. There are shortcomings, but the debate over how many rights a prisoner of war deserves is a debate that should be ended, as prisoners of war deserve all rights as they're human, and should have any and all of them.